I'm your real estate go-to girl. Of course, we can talk about the Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni drama while walking a property. People aren't coming on Instagram to buy a house. They're coming on there to be entertained. And if we don't remember that and like lean into that, we're going to just get ignored. If we like disagree on something, I'm like, I bet you $1,000. He's like, why 1,000? How about like 5? And I'm like, because I know I'm right.
Right. Because you're dead wrong, man.
Yeah.
How do I get more leads?
How do I stand out in my market?
Is it unprofessional to talk about my kids on Instagram?
Should I have 1 account or 2?
Do I really need a personal brand as a real estate agent?
We are the Modern Agent Marketing Girls. We are 2 agents turned marketing experts who believe you can become the go-to real estate girl in your market all because you are you. I'm Chelsea Peterson, founder and CEO of Modern Agent Social Club.
And I'm Kayla Fox, Modern Agent's content creator. Let us be your guide as we talk about what it means to market your real estate business the modern way.
So refill your favorite beverage, open your notes app, and get ready to build a business and a brand you're obsessed with. Let's go.
Good morning, Kayla.
Good morning, Chelsea. Welcome back to another episode of the Marketing Girls podcast. How are you doing?
I am good. We just got done with a really long training at Modern Agent about all things email, but there were so many good questions that I'm feeling like good, but I'm ready to switch topics now.
Yeah. Done talking about email. No, it was really good. I felt like it was more of like a workshop style. So hopefully people got some email stuff done for then. So yeah, that's awesome. Your hair looks good.
Thank you. I got it done yesterday. I put on my stories a picture of my hair place, and spent my morning talking about the White Lotus and Southern Charm. So I've been seeing my hair girl for like 10 years, and we like love all the same shows. And she told me to watch Southern Charm, and I started in February, and it's now been like my addiction, and I can't wait to be done with it because it's just sucking up way too much of my time. But we got to talk about that and the White Lotus, and I just realized, like, while I'm sitting there, I'm like, what if she was sitting here talking to me about hair color formulations and the classes she took to learn hair cutting techniques and how she's mixing the dye? But no, we're talking about TV shows, and we talked about our kids, and we talked about her life and her updates. And it reminded me of how we act in real life like that with people, with conversations, is how we should be acting on social media.
Yes. As a former hairstylist, I will attest to this. I tell you what, I had more interesting conversations behind the chair than ever in my whole life. And it is funny, people, when they come to you, they are hiring you to do a service. And so there is a level of explaining, especially if they want like a big transition in hair color, like explaining to them like, okay, this is the process, this is why, just so that you understand what to expect. There is that usually at the very beginning of the appointment. And then by the end, there's like usually some kind of like, okay, this is how I'm styling it, or note how I'm doing this, like, because they've hired me to do that, right? But the rest of the time, you better believe that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. And our conversations were quite interesting. Keep in mind, I started working behind the chair when I was like 19, and I was very young and naive. And I had a lot of great conversations. And it was funny too, like I met Brett during this time and all of that. So I asked my people who were married, like tons of like dating questions, marriage questions, wedding questions, divorce questions. And then like through pregnancies, like asking them all sorts of things. The one funny thing about my job was that a girl I had gone to high school with had worked at Hooters, and she started coming to me to do her hair. And then all of a sudden everybody from Hooters started coming to me to do their hair. And so lots of great conversations. And like I made some really good friends and all of that. But yeah, like you said, we weren't talking about, different hair levels and how to achieve different results unless that was like the one specific thing they were hiring me for. So that's
what's interesting is when I first started going there, I had come from like someone who just kind of stopped listening to me, and I was like, okay, I'm getting really frustrated. Mm-hmm. So I called and I said, okay, I don't know who to go to, but I want someone who's just really good at blondes. Mm-hmm. At blonde hair. And so they're like, oh my gosh, you have to go to Danielle. So I'm like, okay, like she's the go-to blonde girl. And she is. She's always perfectly blonde, perfectly level of blonde, all the things. And then now that, ever since then, it's like, okay, here's what do you want to do today? I'm like, oh, whatever you think. I want to stay blonde. I want that, whatever. And then I just trust her to do it, and we don't ever talk about it again. And it's kind of like with anything you would hire an expert to do. Like, I don't need to know every single piece of the process or how it's done or what, like, there's a level of that you want to understand depending on what it is. But you trust the person that you now like and know and trust to do the job.
Yeah.
And they handle it. They take that off your plate, and that's why they are the expert at what they're doing. So it's like, how does that relate, to social media, and not feeling like in order to gain trust, we have to explain every fact that we know and like almost prove our worth or prove that we know what we're talking about. And I think like, where does that bring us today? Like that brings us to...
Yeah. Well, we've just been talking a lot about how agents often use social media more like a website or more like a course, like the example with hairstyling. When someone hires me to do a service and I am to explain to them what to expect, that's the appropriate place to do that. I don't explain that on social media. I don't explain that when I go out with my friends. There's a time and place to respect, and you have to like respect the platform. And so when you are treating your social media account like a course or like your website or whatever, yeah, like there's a disconnect there. And I think that then we get frustrated because we're like, why aren't people requesting my guide, or why aren't people commenting or engaging with my post? Well, it's not the appropriate time to have that conversation. And so just like switching up the way that we talk about things, like we were talking on Slack the other day, and I said, we have to stop posting like it's 2022. Like it is not the same. And yes, that's only a few years ago, but like things have changed so significantly. And so, yeah, we have to show up in a way that feels more social and less, not only more social, but less salesy too.
The way I think people think about it is, if I want to get clients from this app, then I need to tell them everything about real estate or everything I know, or how to buy a house, 1, 2, 3, what's the A to Z process. And the more I talk about that, it's going to stick eventually. And it can feel really difficult to go against that, because if you need business, you're like, well, then I should talk about my business. But it couldn't be further from the truth with social media. But there's a way in which you do it. It can be strategic, and and being strategic doesn't mean complicated. It just kind of means, what is your approach and how are you handling it? How are you executing that? Because that's what's going to make a huge difference for you in your marketing. And one thing that I thought about, one topic or one example, is I love Tonic Site Shop. I talk about them all the time, and I love their marketing. And they don't ever talk about, here's how to build a website. Here's how to do this. Here's how to design a logo. Their entire Instagram is filled with things like why everyone is obsessed with the White Lotus, and like why the pumpkin spice latte is the highest sold product or whatever. It's all very marketing focused. So you're interested, you're entertained, you're hooked. I can't wait to see the next one. It's very like case study-esque, I would say. And it's fascinating to read all their content. But I don't follow them on social media because they sell customizable websites. I follow them on social media because they share interesting content. But I then know that they have really good customizable websites, and they're good at what they do. So they don't need to tell me they're good at what they do for me to buy from them, I guess.
Yeah. The other thing that they do that I like is they give tons of examples. So they're actually like showing versus telling. So they're showing versus telling. So they are like saying like, okay, if Wicked was, using this template, like here's what it would look like. And they're like, so it's fun, it's bingeable, it's relevant, it's social. Like that's something that people are talking about, but then they're still showing their expertise. So of course, like when you are following them and when you're engaging with their content, by the time that it comes for you to buy, like even like you've used their templates before, of course you're going to use them. That's your go-to person. Like you wouldn't even think about ordering from someone else. And so that's the same kind of like mentality that we're trying to put in real estate content. Like, and even how you talked about like your hair girl, calling her your hair girl. Like, I don't know how old she is. That's why we say like real estate go-to girl. That is the same vibe that we want people to feel about you and your business, because of course they wouldn't use anybody else. Like they're going to go to the girl that they talk about this with, and like they wouldn't dream of ever not being loyal. So I love that.
What else Tonic does that I want to add on really quick, because this is something we also talk about a lot with real estate marketing, is they lean into pop culture references. And I think what helps with that is it's just relatable. Like Wicked was really popular when they did that, and they did a Barbie one last summer, and they'll like constantly kind of lean into like whatever's happening, Taylor Swift. And it makes the content fun to consume, because you're like, everyone's talking about it right now. So how would they come in and give their take on that topic that everyone's talking about? And when you use content like that in your marketing, it can make something that could be maybe seemingly more dry, or maybe it is tied into your real estate content that you're kind of putting this fun twist on, and it just makes it more fun to consume. Like not everything needs to be from the real estate handbook, like we like to say. And like have fun with it. Like when you're having fun with your marketing, other people are going to have fun with it too. And they can still learn from you. They can still get, like I gave this example in our workshop this morning. I asked the question, what is a topic you really want people to know about that has to do with real estate? Like what's something you wish every person could just hear right this second, and you could like push a button and it would go in their ear and their brain and they would believe you? And a couple of the examples were like, you don't have to buy like the perfect house, but you can like build up to that, like buy something and get your equity and then move up to the next one. And here's how a lot of my clients have done that. Another one was about like, or I gave the example of, using an agent when selling, and how like you do need an agent. And so many people think you don't need an agent. And that's like a very like, hot topic. Anyways, the point is, I then asked after that, what is something you love to talk about? Do you love to talk about gardening or TV shows or books or fashion, or like, and how can you marry the two so that you can talk about it in a fun way that is actually exciting to listen to or exciting to read or makes it fun to consume? And that's how you can really pair things together. And I gave this example during the workshop, but a great tool for this is ChatGPT. Tell ChatGPT, I want to tell a story about why it's so important for a seller to use a listing agent, and I want to tie it into my love of gardening. I don't know, like just see what it spits out. And you might get like a really good hook, or you might get a really good idea that like prompts a story out of it or something like that. Like, do you have you're really good with doing the story to take away style of marketing content?
Well, because that's what people actually like to read. Like when we write our emails for our agents and the membership, like I always purposely start with some kind of story and then tie it back to real estate somehow. Sometimes it's a little more heavy hitting than others. And that's done, again, strategically, because you don't want every email to feel like you're trying to sell something or trying to get them to hire you. But the one thing that I started doing like years ago when I had my own business was I would keep like either like a Google Doc or a like note in my phone. And like I would just think of stories. Like there are some stories that like are just like iconic. Okay, I'll give an example because this one's really funny. I went to college for just 1 year. My plan was to go for 2 years and then go and do cosmetology school. And I was just going to get like an associate's in business. But then I found out they put me in like 4-year classes instead of 2 year. It was a whole thing. And so I was just like, I'm done. I want to go do hair anyway. But my 1 year in college, one of my friends, he had talked me into taking this like philosophy class, which was like way over my head. But I was like, oh, okay. Like some of our friends were in it. I'll take it. And our first day of this class, the guy hands out the syllabus and he's like, okay, like, here's the syllabus that you need. And just so you know, like when a paper is due, it is due as soon as the class starts. You put it up here. It is not my job to remind you of these things. Like you're going to stay on top of this, whatever. So I kept that obviously like in a very safe place. But then throughout the class, like most of our class was just like discussion. And so there wasn't a lot of like paperwork to go involved in it. It was a lot of just like class discussion. Well, one day right before class, this was probably like halfway through the semester, I looked at the syllabus probably like 30 minutes before class just to make sure I wasn't behind on anything. And I saw that there was a paper due that day. And I was like, he has not even told us what the paper was about. Like there's been nothing. So I texted my friend and I said, hey, there's not a paper due today, right? It says so on the syllabus, but like he hasn't said anything about it. And he just responded, oh my gosh, you haven't done it? And I was like, crap. So I like run to the computer lab. I take all my notes and I just start like typing. And I'm literally like writing the most bogus things, but I'm basically going through my notes and I'm like, there's no point to this paper, but I have to write a 2-page paper. It's due in 25 minutes and I got to go. So I like, write. So then class is about ready to start and I'm literally like doing that thing in the TV show where I'm like running in and like quick slam my paper down on his desk and go sit down. And I'm like in the nick of time. And my friend's behind me and he's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I had to write that paper. And he was like, oh gosh. So then I sit down, class is getting ready to start. And the professor's like, I'm real curious what you put on my desk, Kayla. And I was like, well, that paper that was due. And he was like, I haven't told you anything about what to write. So what did you write about? And he proceeded to read the paper to the class.
Oh
and I was like, turned around. I was like fuming. And my friend, he felt so bad, but he was like, I didn't think you would actually write it. I was just joking. But anyway, so that story was like so like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened. And it felt like a movie, like kind of moment, you know? But I had written that down and I have used that story as an example for so many things in our life, whether it's about like procrastination and how you can actually like get things done, or if it was something more along the lines of staying on top of things or being able just to like pull something out of your hat. Like what a gift that is for me to be able to like write, even if it's not making sense. So like when there are things like that happen in life, and sometimes it's that simple, other times it's as simple as something that happened in the grocery store checkout line. But if you are like very aware that this is what you're going to be working on, you can be strategic and you can write those things down. And then even if you don't know exactly where that's going to lead, having a bank of stories that you can pull from will help you whenever you go to sit down and write an email. You can see, okay, here's some stories that have happened. Here's some common themes that I like to talk about. Like how can I connect the two? And like what you said, you can use Chat GPT to do that. So you can say, hey, if I had a story like this that happened, how can I connect it to this, don't delay this in the buyer, scene or whatever. And it's at least a starting point, right? It might not be your finished project, but like, it gives you somewhere to start. And how entertaining is that to read? That's so much better than like 3 steps to the buyer process or whatever lame thing people write. So that's one little tidbit.
I literally could picture every single part of that story you were telling. Like I'm picturing you running into the library. And for some reason, my high school library is what popped into my brain. Mm-hmm. When I pictured you running into your professor, blah, 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 I pictured my college chemistry classroom because it was like the biggest one. That's so funny, like how that story creates a visual in your brain. And when you like, even when you follow someone a lot and you just said you can use that story over and over, you will notice you'll hear a story repeating itself. And they might use it for different takeaways, like you said, and they might use it in completely different contexts. But you're like, I know that story. Like I've heard that story, which is okay. Like that's okay. But even when you have a story that you can come up with to tell, like maybe it's something you keep in your back pocket and it's an example you use at a listing appointment. Because like a story, more than rattling off facts or stats or how many houses you sold or whatever, it can make them feel like, it will make, like, for example, the seller feel like, okay, she handled that. That means like she would know how to handle this. Like she would know how to handle me. It like makes people put themselves right there in the story that you told and like relate it. You like can't help but do that when you have a story.
They're memorable. And like, I know like Donald Miller goes in a lot about this, how this is literally how humans have survived over the years. Like oral story is what we remembered, like they didn't have formulas or computers or whatever. Like they didn't even have writing for so long. And so it really is true. I read a book this morning called Email Storytelling Playbook. And it's just a really quick, like 100-page book that you can get on Kindle Unlimited. But this was so interesting. The quote was, with the rise of AI, information is no longer a constraint for anyone. In other words, like people don't need what they can just Google, right? So it said it. So if that is all that your emails or like social media posts or whatever have to offer, then you're not going to stand out. However, that doesn't mean that education has no value. It just means it has to be balanced with engagement. What keeps people engaged? Entertainment. And that's where it goes into like telling entertaining stories. And they don't all have to be like, ha ha, laugh out loud, slap your knee funny, but they have to be entertaining enough to make people go, well, then what happened? Like I have to know, I have to close this story loop in my head.
Do you know what story I tell all the time? And I first heard it from Hustle Humbly, actually. It's the story, the parable of the Mexican fisherman. Do you know that story?
I remember them telling this story on their podcast.
I seriously tell people about this all the time. So a friend of ours ended up like leaving his big corporate job and starting his own business, and he's just so happy now. Like just so less stress. I mean, like starting your own business is obviously stressful, but it's like the whole theme of like, I'd rather work 100 hours for myself than work 8 hours a day for someone else that doesn't respect me or care about me. And the parable of the Mexican fisherman, I feel like I need to like look it up to tell it. But long story short, it's a fisherman who goes out and fishes every day, and he meets an American businessman, and he's like, well, if you did this, you could catch more fish. And if you got this boat, you could sell more of this. And then you could make more money. And then you could do this. And then you could start a charter company and whatever. It goes on and on and on. And then he basically gets to the point where he's like, well, wouldn't I have to be like away a lot and like work long hours and this and that? And he's like, well, yeah, but then like in like 20 years or so, you could just retire and fish every day and spend time with your family. And he's like, that's what I do right now.
Mm-hmm.
And the point was like, you don't always need to strive for like more, but like, what about like doing what you're already doing and finding that like happy medium of like what you love in life and doing it at the capacity that works for you? And everyone has a different story, right? Like, but I always like will tell, like I even told my husband that story recently. I told our friends that story, like and I look it up. So it's better when you can hear the whole thing.
Yeah.
But I just love that story so much because it's a good reminder of like, live the life you want to live right now.
Yeah.
And my whole point of telling you this is with marketing your business the right way, you can do that right now.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to spend your days at open houses and cold calling and door knocking. And I mean, that's not even probably relevant anymore, but just to put it out there as like something, you don't have to do those things. Like you can have fun with it. You can build relationships over it. And it's just through a couple simple shifts. And that's why part of marketing and part of with social media, things do change all the time. Like you could say like, oh my gosh, I just can't even keep up. But at the core of it, I think that the strategies for social media are pretty timeless. What changes is maybe just the way we talk about it or the way we say it. And that's what I think is the important thing to hold on to, and why people like us dedicate our entire lives to doing that research and figuring that out and creating that for you and writing it for you, because not everyone has time to do that. And like, that's our passion.
Right.
And
if you're a real estate agent, you don't have time to do that.
Yeah,
so like, let us do that for you. Yeah.
If you do have time to do that, you're not selling any houses.
Right.
So,
exactly.
like, how can you kind of, to that Mexican fisherman example, outsource the things that you aren't good at and use it to get yourself further along rather than trying to just scrape by or like whatever it might be. So let's talk about what is working right now.
Yeah. Well, I actually I went back. This is actually kind of funny. I went back to 2022 to talk about our examples. And it was funny. I looked up, I think it was April of 2022, like modern agent content, which ironically was the first month of content that I ever made for modern agent. So I was like, oh man, this really takes me back.
Can I just also say 2022 is not that long ago?
No. No. And it's not like, I always say, it's not necessarily that the captions or the content in and of itself are outdated. The graphics always get outdated quickly, but the hooks have definitely changed a lot. And I think sometimes we get hung up on some of like the more, I'm going to call them old school, even though it was just 2 or 3 years ago. We get hung up on some of those things because they're so clear, right? Like one of the hooks I have written down is how to hire the right agent for you. Well, that sounds like it'd be really beneficial, right? I would say that would make a great blog post, but that is not a good social media post anymore because it's very like educationally driven, and someone who is looking at that is not ready to buy right now or sell right now, they're going to just keep going. Like they have no interest in that. So I put instead, like a good way to say that in 2025 would be like point of view. You're a city named local who loves slow mornings, long walks with the dog, and you want to buy a house. So it's building connection. It's building that point. And then I would have the caption. Actually, the caption would probably be pretty similar to what it was in 2022 about how like it is so much more than like who has sold the most houses in your community, but it's about like who do you trust? Like who do you feel comfortable reaching out to at 9:00 at night when you're freaking out that they haven't responded to your offer yet? You know, like who do you feel comfortable crying to when the inspection goes terrible and you have to walk away from the house? that's who you should hire. So both of those lead to the same thing, but you see how like the 2025 version is so much more like social and like, oh my gosh, I have to walk with my dog every morning too, or I have to do like, and whatever that you're going to insert there, it opens up the gates for like more conversation.
Another example of that, kind of going back to the Tonic site shop doing the Wicked template. They did the template for, what is the bad witch's name?
I don't even know.
I didn't.
It's Glenna
and Glenda's the good one.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, I haven't either. I started it, but I like really need to sit down and focus on it. And now I'm just way too sucked into Southern Charm. I don't have time. But my point is, they could have done, so an example to compare that, if Tonic Site Shop would have done like, here's how to customize our website template. You would be like, well, I'm not in the market for a website template. So like scroll, like keep going. But when they use the Wicked example, which is just everywhere right now, and even though I've never seen it, I still wanted to see, okay, what would that look like if the witch had a website? Like, how cool is that? It makes me stop and look, and then I'm like, whoa, there are like a ton of ways you can customize that template. And like, spoiler alert, I bought the template.
Yep.
So even though I didn't see Wicked, even though I wasn't looking for a website template, like, oh my gosh, like that, could you get a better example? And that's what we're saying. Like, yes, they could talk all day about why you need a website template and 3 reasons you need a website template and how to choose a website template company. No, they're showing us how to use their website templates, and they're showing us why they are the ones to pick.
Yeah. It's like the term is, what's it called? Edutainment, like education, but entertainment. Yes. Like it is a mix of the two. And that's what's it. And again, we can hear the word entertainment and think like, well, I don't want to dance on camera, or I'm not funny or whatever. But like, it doesn't have to be those things. It's just a matter of creating connection, creating talking points. When you talk about a current show, when you talk about something that's relevant, even what you said, even if you haven't seen that, you're more likely to engage with it. And you're more likely to even just remember that, hey, Chelsea the agent posted this, or she talks about this. Like, I probably would enjoy talking with her, you know? Another example that I wrote down, one of the hooks that we had was like about a supply and demand and like a current real estate market update. That's so boring. So boring. So instead I put like makeup and market. So I put like, listen to my latest client conversation while I get ready this morning. And you can do something real simple where even if you're just getting ready on camera or whatever it is you want to do while you're making lunches, while you're making breakfast, whatever, but then you can do like a voiceover saying like, a client asked me this question and maybe I want to explain to them like, this is what's actually going on in our market. So much more entertaining, but also you're still showing your expertise. Like you're still showing that you know what you're talking about and you are aware of what's happening and you're guiding people through that process. So anyone who's listening or watching is going to, in the back of their mind, know like you are the guide for them.
Can we talk really quickly too about, so we're saying to be a little more clever and to have a hook that is going to make someone stop and pay attention versus being really clear. Like the how to hire the right agent for you is super clear. There is a time and a place to be super clear. Mm-hmm. One example would be on your website. You want to be super clear who you are, who you serve, how you're going to help them, what their next step should be, how they can reach out for more information, what is it going to look like if they work with you. All of that should be super clear on a website. Who you are like trying to talk to even, right? Like your messaging should be so clear. You can still be really clear on Instagram, but because, and this is always going back to that, like people aren't coming on Instagram to buy a house. They're coming on there to be entertained. And if we don't remember that and like lean into that, we're going to just get ignored. And if your content's not going to stand out. So how can we be clear on who we're trying to reach? So that kind of comes down to you're maybe using that more clever hook, but you're doing it in a way that's going to connect with the other local mom that is going to come across that post. Or you're doing it in the way that's going to be like, okay, like they're in my community and they, whatever it is, like you can still be clear on who you're trying to attract, but you're not necessarily going to make the post hook clear because it's too boring. Like how do we go from, we want this content to obviously turn into clients. Like we're not just doing this for fun, but we need it to also be seen and we need people to come back.
Yeah.
They need to come back to our party, right?
Yeah.
So how do we get them to come back?
Yep.
While still being that go-to agent?
Yeah. I mean, I think it all starts with conversations, like what we said. Posts like those are going to invite more conversation. And then following up in your stories, like we've talked before about like being strategic in your story. So sharing behind the scenes of whether you're creating a post or whether you're writing an email or whatever, and then always including an invitation to join in on the email list or to schedule your mini consult or whatever. We strategically use those things so that people have many opportunities to join your list. Or your email list also has several opportunities for people to take that next step with you. It's always about extending the invitation, but not like shoving it in people's face, right? Like the door's always open, but you're not shouting like, come in, come in, come in. Like you're not acting desperate. You're not being salesy. You're being social and conversational.
So pairing some things with your social media, like having a lead magnet someone can opt in for to learn more if they are in the place where they are ready for that, or having that call to action to get on your email list. Like you're getting people further to giving you a referral or hiring you when they are ready. When you have pieces in place like that, that's what makes your social media less of just a place to have, fun content. Like, yes, it can be fun, but we want it to be strategic too. And having those other pieces in place make it strategic. The behind the scenes in your stories, like documenting behind the scenes of what you're doing is going to build your authority more than any post about how to buy a house. Like I bet you $1 bazillion.
A bazillion at least.
I always do things with Mark. Like if we like disagree on something, I'm like, I bet you $1,000. He's like, why 1,000? How about like 5? And I'm like, because I know I'm right.
Right. Because you're dead wrong, man. Yeah. Exactly. I wrote down to think of it this way. Social media is like you're casually dating somebody, right? It's fun. You're getting to know each other. You're having conversations. You're almost like flirting a little bit. But then like having them join your email list, it's a little bit more exclusive. Like it's a little bit more one-on-one. Yes, exactly. Exactly. You're a little bit more committed. You're not engaged yet, but you are a little bit more committed. And then when you actually like hire that person, that's when you actually like start the engagement and start that conversation. So when you think of it in those 3 categories, it lets you see dating like any guy you went on like a first date with who would have been like, I want to marry you or you're the one for me. Which ironically enough, I got stories about that too. So like if you think about those things, like it's going to make you run, right? Like even if they are a great person, like you're out and if you are level in the head. So yeah, I think thinking of it in those terms can help kind of simplify your strategy.
Do you have another example?
I do. We had a post in 2022 that said, now accepting new clients. And it was all about how like, I'm not too busy for you. I got plenty of time for you. But now that feels more like a billboard, right? Or feels more like what you'd put on a business card or whatever. That does not feel social. So instead, I wrote down, what's a mini consult like? I'll show you. So the term mini consult, we actually coined a few months ago. And it was all about how
probably like a few years ago.
I purposely started using mini consult probably back in the fall.
Okay. I feel like it's been forever.
Yeah, and there's been other variations of it. Yeah. But most of the time, agents are saying buyer consultation, seller consultation. It just felt very serious. And if we're my theory was like, if agents are telling people that, hey, like this is a no commitment thing, like you can just ask questions, but you're saying come to the seller consultation, it just felt like kind of daunting.
Seller consultation feels like we are signing paperwork and hiring you. This is it.
Yes. Where a mini consult is more like talking like this or like grabbing coffee or whatever. So just a little bit more laid back and all of that. So we've had posts about this is what a mini consult is like, and this is why I call it that, and this is why, what you can expect out of that. So again, it's showing people I have availability, but it's taking the behind the scenes and showing them what to expect instead of just saying like, check me out. I can be your agent,
Mm-hmm. So it's still like, let's go through one of the slides of this. I have it pulled up. Mm-hmm. So it's still walking them through like, well, what's going to happen here? Because if I'm scrolling and I'm like, what's a mini consult? I might be like, yeah, what is that? Like I am kind of thinking about buying, but I'm not ready to like get serious, but I'm, just in that like informational stage.
Yep.
So it tells you, it's like, I'll send you a little questionnaire before our meeting so I can be as prepared as possible. We'll meet on Zoom or in person, local coffee shop, anyone. You'll tell me everything about your hopefully upcoming move. I'll tell you about the current market and what to expect. We will make a plan going forward, connect, blah, blah, blah. And then I'll follow up in a few days. So it's like, it feels very attainable, doable, simple.
Yes.
It's still sharing how your process looks and how you operate, but it's not like scaring them off
100%.
or having them scroll by.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, showing them your process and showing them behind the scenes is a lot more social than, hey, I can take new clients. The other example I wrote down was all about like local events. So like that used to be the big thing in real estate land, is like, everyone, I'm going to share this weekend's local events. And now, again, I do think there is a place to be the resource. And a lot of times, like in our emails, we'll include 3 things happening in city name this weekend or whatever. But that's not necessarily a post that's going to make people be like, ooh, I really need to follow her and I really should like get to know her, or I want to get to know her. So instead, saying something like, where you're going to find me every Saturday in April, or I'm a city name local. Of course, I remember when they put the stoplight in or whatever. That's actually one of our April posts. But showing like your perspective, your personal take, because again, anyone can Google what is happening in city name this weekend. They can't Google, what does Chelsea love to do on Saturday mornings? Like, they can only hear that from you. So giving them like your personal take, your personal spin on anything local is going to make them trust you so much faster, and it's going to make them want to like connect with you. It's going to open the door for connecting and for conversations with you.
I love this one too. This was in this week's marketing plan. When I say I'm obsessed with city name, this is what I mean. Because what this will do, so this is a real prompt. You can also do it as a carousel post, but I love this as a series, and I would make this monthly. I would do like what I say when I say I'm obsessed with Lake Country. This is what I mean. January edition, February edition. What it's going to do is it's going to pull out your personality and turn it into a reel that's about where you live. And you can mix in like real estate into that. You can mix in like your favorite local spots. You could even mix in like what you're wearing that month. Like, I picture it almost like you're taking a little mirror selfie video, and let's say it's April, and you're finally in like a light yellow, butter yellow spring color. I just ordered a really cute butter yellow fleece from Free People.
Yeah.
And I'm not usually like a yellow person, but I was like, I just am so ready for spring. I need this piece right now. So anyways, that's what I'm picturing myself wearing. I'm like in my mirror, little quick selfie walk by. Maybe I have like my coffee in my hand, and I am like going to go get in my car, and I'm going to go share like my favorite April spots that are in my city. So like, what is kind of coming on the horizon in April? Maybe I should have picked May because it's really ugly here in April. But you'll find some things. Like, you'll find some things regardless. It doesn't have to be like 100% perfect. You're going to just basically share, this is our city in this month and then what I love to do here. And maybe it's like sneaking in a walk around this trail when it's not raining, like you kind of lean into like what is happening this month. But I just love it so much because there's just so many ways you can make it feel like a human. Like, it's not like a list of local events that any robot could share, their chamber of commerce could put on their Facebook page.
Right.
It's like your take on it. And that's, again, where the content becomes like relationship building, because someone's going to follow that because they like your style. Last night, shockingly enough, I'm looking up on Instagram like Charleston, South Carolina vacations because of my show, obviously. And I'm like, maybe we should go here for my birthday. And I'm like scrolling through reels. So if you type in like a city name like that, it's just going to bring up all of these reels. Well, there were like a bunch of them. Spend a day in Charleston, blah, blah, blah. I picked like one that I found was so me. Like, I just like, yep, those are the things I want to do. I want to see the cute coffee shop. I want to have I want to go to the best views. I want to stay in a nice hotel. So I followed her because I'm like, I do want to go there someday. But there were like, you guys, hundreds of people that posted Charleston videos. But the point of like when you make it more you is that someone's going to follow it because they like your vibe, not just because you shared about local. And that's like, it's a really good way to kind of like break down how that also works from a real estate perspective. And you can follow, if someone's going to follow you who you happen to sell real estate, and you always are sharing like the best girls' night out spots, like the best places to take your kids, in the summer. Like, they're going to like you because that's their vibe too. And that's what makes social media so exciting and fun.
Yeah.
I keep saying
that. And isn't it
I'm
so
sorry.
funny? Like, as you're saying that, I'm thinking in my head, we do this all the time. Like, when we recommend something for somebody, we don't ever just say like, oh, they're the best. we usually give them some kind of thing. Like I'm even thinking like one of the lenders we use, he is like a really big sports guy. And so like when I would recommend him to some people, if I knew they love sports, I would always say like, oh, he loves sports. He'll love to talk to you about football or basketball or whatever. We do this for like other things too. Like when you introduce, I'm just thinking how many times I'm sitting in the stands at a basketball or football game and I'm introducing two friends and I say, oh, like you both have kids in this class, or you both like, you're finding those connection points. And that is all that this is. Like it's making it easier for you to have those connection points with you.
So much easier. Our next door neighbor sent over a couple referrals to Mark's insurance agency, and his brother does the commercial insurance, and his brother went to school to be an arborist, and they have a whole tree niche specialty. And one of the referrals they sent, they build like natural playgrounds, and they use like they grow their own black walnut trees and build the playgrounds out of the walnut trees.
Cool.
When we heard that they had this niche, they were like, oh my God, we want him. Like that's such a cool fit. So again, it's like you attract so much more, so much better. Cause like if you picture this, like you're sitting at a listing appointment and it's like, why you? Why should we pick you? And if you didn't previously have a connection that was formed through marketing, through social media, through a referral, if that's all you've got, why you?
Yeah.
Like,
and there's only top five producers in your area. It can't always be that. Yes, some people that's going to matter the most to them. And if you're a top producer, you get to raise your hand and say, I am for you. But most agents are not top producers. Like most agents aren't in the top 5 or 10 in their community. So give them another reason to hire you other than the fact that you have your license.
I don't really see, that's another thing with, if I was a top producer as an agent, I would find a way to explain that and never use that word ever.
Yeah.
Because to me, it's an instant ick. Like it's an instant, the second I see it, I'm like, no, like, no. A lot of times, this is so unfortunate. And I cannot figure out why. A lot of times I've tried to hire the best, and I'm like making quotation marks. I've been disappointed. And I don't know if it's like one of those things like where someone just raves about a movie and then you watch it, you're like, it was okay. Like, is that why? Or is it because they have such like a overinflated confidence about themselves because they carry that title that they don't match what they're promising? Like they they're automatically under delivering because they said they're the best. Like, is that it? I don't know what it is, but it has literally steered me away from ever wanting someone who tells me they're the best, because I'm like, it's kind of a red flag now.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing I think we should think about is looking outside our industry. Like you said earlier too, like you and I spend literally all day studying marketing. And so we're not just looking at real estate agents. Like most of the time we're not looking at them. We're looking outside of that. And I put down just a few examples. So like just to get to people thinking about how to show up on social media. One example, which we've had her on the podcast, Tori Sprinkle, she's a brand designer. And I said, notice that she isn't sharing file type information or brand kit do's and don'ts. Instead, she's sharing like behind the scenes of what like the lifestyle of a female business owner and like encouraging them and meeting them where they're at and creating connection points with them.
Working in the margins of motherhood is like her whole thing.
That's her
That has nothing to do with branding.
Yeah. And so who hires her? Girls like us. Like that we're like, yes, like you understand what it's like. The other two examples I have are both authors. So author Sarah Adams and Abby Jimenez. They aren't sharing their writing process. They're not sharing their theories on character development or like how they chose their editor, right? Like they're sharing like, this is how my books will make you feel. Like this is for the girls who love this. It creates a whole community of people that are like, yes, like I loved that moment or whatever. And then my other example was Claire Kinney. She's like a fashion blogger. I think that's what she would call herself, but she's not sharing, hey, these are 5 steps to complete an outfit, or like, here's how to dress for your body type. Instead, she's sharing like, if you just do these 2 little things, you're going to feel unstoppable. That's actually, she uses that like, I'm unstoppable song all the time. And that's literally like, she does it over and over and over again. It's so repetitive, but it's all about how like, oh man, like you really can elevate your outfit and like feel so much more confident just by doing those 2 little things. Like that's huge, you know? So like, when you think about those examples, then you think like, why are agents sitting around talking about earnest money? Like That has nothing to do. Now, that's a great question for during your mini consult. If your client has a question about that, explain it to them. Like, you should know what that means. That's not social media content.
We had a post that was, I got to pull it up now because this is like a perfect example of this. I'm your real estate girl. Of course, we can yap about White Lotus and your home search over coffee. And then it was like a carousel where you keep scrolling. And I just thought this was hilarious. Someone said, I'm your real estate go-to girl. Of course, we can talk about the Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni drama while walking a property.
That's who I want to hire.
And I'm like, too soon? I'm like, I don't think so. That's the thing. Like, people want someone they can trust and they can feel comfortable with. And when they feel comfortable, it changes everything.
Everything.
I feel like you have a better experience when you feel comfortable. For example, like, you might not be afraid to tell that agent, like, but do you think we should maybe list it a little higher? Like, rather than accepting the price they tell you and then being angry on the inside. Like, oh my gosh, I've heard so many stories from people who are just so not a good fit with their agent where it could have gone so much better. And maybe things did work out really well, but you don't even really know because you just didn't trust them. And that makes such a big difference. I mean, think about referrals. It's so much easier and cheaper to get repeat and referral business than to get completely brand new business in any business. It's like a stat. Look it up. I don't know what the exact number is. Look it up. But it's so much easier. And so if you can focus on attracting those clients that are going to be that really great fit, that are so comfortable with you. And sometimes that can feel like, what do you mean? I just need a client. I don't need a specific one. But if you think about it and you take a step back, by getting those perfect fit, or even not perfect, you get those good fit clients. Maybe that's a better word. Good fit clients. You're going to get more referrals from those people that are similar to them. And they're going to be more excited to talk about their experience. And they're going to be more willing to write a review for you. And like, everything just catapults from there. Yeah. Like, if you can just get one good client, good fit client, you can lean into all of the things with them, whether it's like the story of the transaction, what you do on the closing day, how you follow up after, and like, let that be a big part of how you're going to storytell, how you're going to talk, how you're going to share information, like listening to the things your favorite clients say and using that in your marketing or using that in your story. Like, what was the feature they were looking for? What were they like really, really into in every house you looked at? Like, were they like, like, I just hate the kitchen. Like, I need more of an update. We are not DIY people. Like, I don't want to touch a hammer. Like, what is the thing? And then you could seriously, like, let's say that was the example. You could create a post, or like, maybe it's about your next listing, or it's part of your email where you're like, if you are in the, I don't even want to touch a hammer camp and you're looking for a house, here is my best advice. Like, like, I would want to read that post in a heartbeat.
Yep. And those people that you helped are going to go tell everybody else. I look at like the first 2 years of real estate, and so many of my clients all stemmed from one couple who she found me on Instagram, and she was the only client I had. So I just treated her really well. She told everyone. And I literally had like a train of people coming to me who didn't even want to interview me. They were just like, yeah, I'm going to hire you. Like, let's go look at houses. Like, you're going to help me. And like, they just believed in me from day one. And so it is part of that. Like, it is like, I was very clear on my personality. I had like my personal brand down. I was showing behind the scenes of my business, even when I had hardly any clients on Instagram. And that led to that one client. And then my focus was like, I'm going to treat her the best. Like, I'm going to give her my best attention and like all of that. And that's what led to all of those. And so like, that's all of this, like the whole point of going through all these hooks, and the whole point of explaining the difference between like social media and your website and your email list, all those things, it all comes down to attracting clients who are going to look at you and be like, I have the same loyalty to you that I have to my hair girl, because like you're the only one that I trust. You know what I mean? Like, real estate go-to girls are like ride or dies. Wouldn't dream of hiring anybody else. I'm going to tell all my friends to hire you, or else I'm going to befriend them. Like, that's the level of passion that people are going to feel because of the way that you show up and present yourself. So that's what all of this boils down to.
I'll never forget an email I got from a client, and the subject line, or maybe it was a text, I forget, but it was like the one where we ask you to be our realtor.
Yeah.
The one where they're using a friend's quote.
Chelsea, do you realize that is what you said to me when you hired me?
No.
Your email subject, that's so funny. Your email subject line to me was the one where Kayla joins Modern Agent Social Club. And I was like,
Oh my gosh, no, I totally forgot. That's so exciting.
I need to find that email because that is how you hired
anyone permanent, like besides like a contracted position in so long that I like forget. I think I did the same actually with Chloe. That's so
funny. Yes. It confirmed that I was at the right company, that's for sure. So,
well, I believe when you applied, you did a friends themed post.
Oh, I'm sure I did.
Like when
I knew my audience.
What?
I knew my audience.
When that's doing your research, like when I hired the content position, you had to submit, I forgot how many, like 3 or 5 posts.
Yeah.
Designed for like as if you were going to create them for Modern Agent. And you did a Yellowstone one too, which was also really good.
Yeah. That's so funny. Oh, those good old days.
Yep.
That means that it's been like 3 years. That's crazy. So fun.
No, it's been 3 years. It was 2022. Because I found out I was pregnant like a month later and I was like, thank God.
Yes. That was perfect timing. That was perfect timing. What should we tell all of our sweet, loyal listeners to do with all of this information? What's their homework?
I think number one, kind of going back to the question example I shared, is taking something that you do really want people to know, and like they don't need to know everything about real estate. Pick one thing, 2 things, and then come up with some Modern Agent style hooks like what we just shared that you can turn them into. And you could probably, you could use ChatGPT to be honest and say, I want people to know this. Give me 10 hooks that sound like Nancy Meyers vibes. I don't know, but seriously. And maybe that's like too vague of an answer. Another thing you could really seriously do is get our list of 2025 trending content ideas. Would be a great one. And we'll link that in the show notes.
Yep, for sure. Yeah. And I just think like the other thing that you can do is when you're just like scrolling at night before you go to bed, pay attention to the things that stand out to you that are not real estate related. Like don't just pay attention to other real estate agents, but pay attention to the reels that get you to click on the caption or the ones that make you think like, oh, I'm going to like that or I'm going to follow that person. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll like save things in a folder or whatever. And then I go back to it later and I'm like, why did I save this? Like, what was it about this that was so interesting to me? Because I think when you make it a habit to like pay attention to those things and start thinking less like a real estate agent and more like an actual marketer with your business, I think that it opens your eyes to like new ways to really connect with people. And that's going to make you stand out from your competition so much because most real estate agents are not doing that.
That's a really good piece of advice. I save so many things too as inspo. And you'll probably go through and be like, that one's not that good, or I don't care about that one. But you will be able to kind of almost replicate, and not in a copying way, but in a what's my own twist or inspiration on this? Mm-hmm. Why did I like this so much? And how can I kind of talk about what I want to talk about, but make it desirable to hear or make it make sense for someone who isn't buying or selling, but they'll still know I sell real estate. It's really our whole content cocktail strategy that I keep talking about. And it's 1 part real estate, 1 part personal, and 1 part local. And mixing those 3 things together.
Yep.
And then
Splash
having your
personality. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Super simple. I love it. Chelsea, I think this was a great episode. And I hope that the next time that we talk that you have Googled more about your dream trip to Charleston so we can have you plan that and we can hear all about it.
I hope so too.
But yeah, no, I love this. This was such a great conversation.
Also, if you want to talk about Southern Charm, my DMs are open.
Always, always. We need to talk about Running Point soon. Have you been watching Running Point?
No, because I'm literally not watching. And I'm watching White Lotus, but I have no other time.
Okay, yeah. I started watching that one, and I really like it so far. So we can bring that up in
I don't love basketball.
Oh, you don't have to. This is like straight up. I know I feel like we talk about how to lose a guy in 10 days every episode. We should make that like a drinking game sometime on this show. But it reminds me of that, how like Kate Hudson's character like loves basketball. Like that, it's kind of like those vibes, but like it's not just about basketball.
Okay, well, that makes sense. I do think of basketball when I think of how to lose a guy in 10 days too, because of the Knicks game. But
yes, exactly.
Is it the Knicks game?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Then I thought of Friends, where Rachel has the Knicks tickets and wants to ask out Joshua.
Yes.
And I'm like, wait, am I getting the team right? right,
I
bye,
love it.
Kayla.
Awesome.
This was so fun. We'll
Yes.
see you guys next Tuesday.
Bye.
I'm so glad we got to hang out today. If you're as sad as I am that our time is up, I've got good news. There are a couple of different ways we can keep the conversation going.
First, follow us on Instagram at Modern Agent Marketing Girls and introduce yourself in the DMs. Also, we always have a free Modern Agent resource available, so check out today's show notes for the goods.
And finally, hang out with other go-to real estate girls like you and finally create a marketing plan that works when you join Modern Agent Social Club. All the details are in today's notes.
XOXO, the Marketing Girls.